sensual side, sex, self, relationships, and all that good stuff. How did you get on this journey? Was this the path you were on? We last spoke 3 years ago. I don't think you were, I think you were doing something else, eh?
Yeah. So about 3 years ago, I think we talked about mindset and
Mm-hmm.
business and mindset, which is what I went into. This journey is completely from a self-discovery journey. As this is vulnerability, me being fully transparent and vulnerable. This came from my own struggle.
Mm-hmm.
My struggle has been with sex. I've had sexual trauma from so many different aspects of my life through just culture, society, religion, personal relationships. And I'm in a relationship with my husband. We've been together for 6 years, and bless him, but he's been so strong and so patient to be on this journey with me, where I've had to, have my own therapy. But it was really when I decided to be my teacher and my own student when this was birthed, when
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I could continue to look outside of me for all of these answers, but if I'm genuinely meant to heal women and be in my purpose, then I need to learn how to do this for myself, because this was the biggest thing around sexuality, sexuality, self, and relationships, like just really honing in on that for myself. And that's how Sensual
Mm-hmm.
Soul Healing was birthed, was through
Yeah.
my own personal journey. Of course, I have a background in mental health, of understanding sex trauma and just trauma in general. So
Mm-hmm.
with that background and with my own personal journey, this is how this came about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you help high achieving women. So who falls into that category?
Yeah, so women who really struggle with control, most high achieving women want everything to be, type A, even type B, but like you're really focused on how can I control the outcome of all situations in my life. So because she's always in that mindset to control and have it be the way that she wants it to, when it comes to letting her guard down, being more in her feminine energy versus masculine energy, being in the mood to receive, whenever it comes to intimacy, it's an issue for her. She finds
Mm-hmm.
it very challenging. And so that's how, I help her,
Mm-hmm.
is to find that balance between her feminine and masculine energy, help her to, be open to receiving pleasure instead of always having to make sure that it's cookie cutter and that it's going exactly the way that she always
Mm-hmm.
wants it to be planned. So
Yeah.
that's what I consider a high achieving woman, meaning that if I'm controlling the situation, then it's going to go the way I want it to. And most of the time that's success. So
Mm-hmm. So, like when traditionally, right, like people like, oh, I like to keep my professional and my personal separate and all that good stuff. But, as the years have progressed, we know now that if you don't have your personal cleaned up, then that's gonna seep into your professional. But we never think about sexual energy when it comes to that. It's always about, oh, my husband and I are having fighting, the kids are a mess. But so sexual energy gets into that as well.
oh yeah, absolutely. I just talked about this not too long ago, where we are in our culture and society, we are taught from the patriarch perspective, which means that, there are a lot of different systems and a lot of different conditionings that have led to women feeling that we are here to do maybe like two things: serve others and make sure that we're providing for our family. So that has nothing to do with self, right? So when you're when you're already in that place to put everyone else before yourself, you don't learn that you just don't do that in sex. You do that in all areas of your life. You do that with your friendships, your relationships, your workships. You do that with absolutely everything. And so also in the bedroom, I hear it all the time. It's like, I don't want to speak up. I'm afraid to tell him this. I'm afraid to tell him that. And it's like, this is your pleasure journey. The one place that you should feel like I'm in charge, most women do not.
Mm-hmm.
So it plays a part in every aspect of your life. But when you really do hone in and focus on your sexuality and your sensuality and understanding like how to experience more pleasure in your life,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, these are places that I need to start cleaning up in the other areas of my life, because now I'm open to saying, this is what I want. This is what makes me feel good. This is what makes me feel confident. And like a beautiful, strong woman, a balanced woman, then she's going to want to feel that way in all areas of her life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like it's working on the inside out, like deep inside, because it's very, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are open to talk about sex. Like it's a very taboo, it's very vulnerable, yet everyone has pleasure. Everyone wants to experience some form of sex in some way, shape, or form. Yet this is the one thing that we continue to not have open discussions about. And it's just that time.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of shame surrounding this for some reason. Like sometimes like you're afterwards you're just like, whoa, what's this feeling? Where's this
Yeah.
coming from? Right. So give us a little bit of an insight when it comes to shame, when it
Yeah.
comes to sexual energy and sexual thoughts. There's
Yeah.
just the whole part. There's a lot of shame.
Absolutely. There is so much shame around it. And it goes back to, and I use this a lot, is that conditioning that in the beginning, when you think about just the path of the woman, from generation after generation after generation after generation, women have been oppressed. So you're getting not only oppression of how it is to, be a woman, to think like a woman, making sure that you're not having too many sex partners, or they're not going to want to be with you. You're having this condition, even on the religious side, waiting till you're married, making sure that you're clean, making sure your body is this, like, just it's a lot of going against what is natural. When you go to the basis of us being just species, what do? We reproduce. We
Mm-hmm.
have our ovulation system. So you know what I'm saying? So there's that aspect of it where it's like, just as beings, we are sexual by nature. And it's not all about maybe porn and the taboo aspects, but just like on a full, just straight scale, we are sexual beings. We are here to procreate. So
Mm-hmm.
then you've got that, and then you've got society, cultural norms, religious norms, where it's like oppressing what is natural. So you're going to feel shameful because it's like, I have this natural urge to do something, but I'm conditioned to see this urge as a negative. It's something I need to oppress. It's something I need to hide. It's something that is not necessarily a good thing. And we're taught that at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? It just gets taught over and over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not necessarily shameful of the act. You're shameful because of the conditioning that you've been taught something negative, especially as a woman, around sex.
Mm-hmm.
Most men, they're taught to be go-getters. Go after what you want. Don't let anything stop you. So that's already conditioned very early. Well, they want to have sex, and don't let nothing stop me from getting that. Like I said, it's that core conditioning, and we fit it into different aspects of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the shame is present. It's not necessarily because we don't desire to experience this, but it contradicts what's natural and what's conditioned from our environment.
Mm-hmm. So being vulnerable about these things, you opening up, and your personal self-expression plays a lot into this. So
Yeah.
how would you say what would be your advice when it comes to embracing your vulnerability and your self-expression when it comes to these things?
Absolutely. Honestly, the first thing is basically giving yourself permission to heal. Because when it comes to sex, because it's so attached to our identity, our procreation, there's different levels to it. It's attached to our identity spiritually with our root chakra. It's attached to our confidence, our creativity through our sacral chakra. And so your sacral chakra is also your sexual powerhouse. And so it definitely connects in that way. So it's like, give yourself permission to heal, because at a very, very early on in many of our lives, we've been taught sex in a negative way. It's not really been fully discussed to us in many different ways with our parents, in school. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, well, I know that people do this, but I don't really know much about it. And then you get to a specific age, let's see, between 18 and 25, where the sex talk is more open, but it's more so in the how many people have you had sex with? How was it? Was he good? Was it this? Was it that? And then you still kind of feel shameful because you're like, we're having these conversations, but I still don't understand this. And I'm like my late teens, early 20s, and this is still something that really I'm just doing it to be doing it, but I'm not doing it with a connection. So give yourself permission to heal, because there's so many different aspects to sexuality that it's not your fault that you don't know about this. Many of us don't know about this. And there's not really a lot of resources out there aside from just strictly educational about how it works, not how to experience pleasure, how to, use your power to create and manifest your reality. Like, there's not a lot of information out there like that. So first, give yourself permission to heal, because there is trauma, there is baggage, there is some shame, guilt, and negativity that is surrounding this. So you got to give yourself permission first, and then create awareness around how you were taught about it. You know what I'm saying? What was that story? So you can really understand where that story comes from and know that you really weren't the person that wrote it. You were just the person that was given this story, and you've just been reading this narrative. And then from there, you want to say, okay, how do I want to experience pleasure? This is a trial and error thing. This is something I've been blessed to have my husband a part of. We've done lots of different, from intentional sex, where we're setting an intention, meditating, and then going into it. It's like a spiritual practice, to where it's like, okay, how can we be more spontaneous? So this is probably the place, once you open this up, creativity, your sacral chakra opens up. You're more creative. So you're like, let's just play with this. Let's just make it my own. But be prepared to be uncomfortable, because for however long, up until this point that you're hearing this and you're recognizing that you want to heal this journey, you had no idea how to really do this on your own. So basically, you're taking baby steps into something new in your life. So give yourself permission to heal. Create the awareness around, what your sex story has been, how you were taught about it. And then say, how do I want to experience this? How do I want to feel when it comes to my sexual interactions? How do I want to feel within my own body? And then slowly but surely, small things will start to align, and you'll feel more comfortable with that.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So you were sharing that this journey started in your own experiences. So what was the story there? What was the experience of your, like, okay, something's got to give here?
Yeah. So it was, both my husband and I came from a very, very, very religious background, to where, to the point where we wanted to move in to a house that was owned by his family. And we weren't even married at the time. And they were like, oh, you guys have to wait till you're married in order to move in together. And we were like, what? We were like, that's not gonna happen. Like, no, we're trying to move in together now. Like, we're both in our parents' house. We're not waiting till we get married to do that. So, just even going from that, this is like 2016 when this is, or like 2014 when this is happening. So we're like, all right, that's completely not our way of thinking. So we moved to Florida, and we realized that there were a lot of ways that we were taught how to do things that didn't align with us. And at that point, when we started to do that type of work, I realized, oh my gosh, I am not really comfortable letting go of control, even during sex. I'm in my head. I'm thinking about, does this look good? Does this feel good? Does he really like this? Should I move like this? A whole chore. Like, it's a whole chore going on in my head. And this is supposed to be something that I can tell he's definitely having a good time. I'm supposed to be there having a good time with him as well. So that's when I realized that this was an issue for me. I had seen a therapist. I had EMDR, which is basically like helping with the trauma aspect of it, desensitizing you from the emotion and the thoughts, so that way you can move forward in your life. And that was very, very helpful. But it was still something deep down that even when I was having sex, I was so resistant to like saying what I wanted and stepping up and initiating contact and initiating pleasure. And it was just like, I was like, this is crazy, because I want this. I want to experience it. I love the way it feels when I am able to experience it. But there's still something that is keeping me from going all in. There's something deep that's going all in. And so fast track to about just like a few years ago, that's when that initiation started, because, my husband just, he stepped up. He was like, babe, he was like, this we can't even put this on the back burner. We can't even go sometimes and then have this issue. And sometimes that, like, this is something that we need to be proactive about. And when he brought that to my attention, and he also helped me to understand that, like, he's given me his all, you know, this is actually starting to weigh in on how he feels as well. I was like, this is no longer about me. I am also affecting the person that I love. And I was like, I've done Reiki healing, I've done therapy, I've done all of those things. I was like, and they've helped, but they didn't really hit me to the core. And that's when I was like, this has to change. And I was like, you have to be the person that changes this. You cannot continue to look outside of you. You're well equipped. You know yourself. You know your body. You know your mind. Now let's get to it. What is going to make you feel uncomfortable right now when it comes to sex? Why is it the reason that you feel uncomfortable? And then it just all started to unfold from there. And it was a beautiful journey, very hard. Very, very hard in the sense that it is just uncomfortable. You know, it's really not hard. You do it, but it's uncomfortable. And most of the time we don't really like to feel uncomfortable. But when you realize that you have a partner that's like, full transparency, I'm uncomfortable in certain aspects of this too. That's where the communication aspect comes in. Not only communicating with your partner, but communicating with yourself that, like, this is a vulnerable experience for both people. Even men who seem like they're the most confident, you know, this is still vulnerable for him. Because she can turn him down. She can say, you know, all these different things. And, like, it goes back to the conditioning. I might get, you know what I'm saying, you might shut me down, but I'm going to still get to the prize because nothing's going to stand in my way. So that's why the rejection piece on the outside doesn't affect men the way it does for women on the inside, because we're already ashamed of our bodies and ashamed of sex just because of the conditioning. So then on top of someone saying you're not good enough, or saying this experience isn't the best, or turning you down, oh, mass shame, right? Because I'm already shaming myself, and then someone else is shaming me. I'm not doing this. I completely am detaching from this, disconnecting. I don't want my emotions a part of sex. Boom. There you go. Sexual trauma. Just something that simple. It's not really simple, but something just like that, very vulnerable, very intimate, can immediately turn into trauma just because of the lack of communication from both people. I had no clue my husband felt that there were times where he was like, I am in this vulnerable space. I don't feel as confident as you feel. And I was like, I needed to hear that because I didn't know that you were on this journey with me. So having those conversations are massive and they're huge, but just that's really what got me on that, was realizing that this was also affecting the person that I love the most. And I was like, I can't keep putting this on the back burner. I have to be proactive and know that it's possible for me to change. And it was.
Yeah. So what certain freedom, you know, like there's a certain freedom attached to it after you do that, right? Like now there's an open dialogue between you and your husband, right? So describe that freedom to us.
Wow. I'm so glad you asked that, because I remember the first time that I was able to just be fully transparent in saying that. It's almost like you're letting the lid, you know what I'm saying? It's honestly, it feels like a volcano. It's like an eruption whenever you're able to just say that first thing of, hey, this is an issue for me, but I want to change it, or I'm afraid to initiate sex because of it. Just feels like it's just an eruption. You're like, wow, I've been holding that in for how many years? I've been not validating the fact that this is my truth for how long? And when you actually hear it out loud, you're like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. I am afraid to initiate. So so in your mind, it don't make sense. You're like, this is stupid. Why am I even feeling this way? But when you're able to verbalize it, it makes sense in that moment. You actually are able to put the emotion to that feeling, to that experience, and you're saying, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And if you have a very loving, compassionate partner, they're going to say, okay, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And hearing that, you go, wow, this whole time I felt like I had to do this alone. I'm not in this alone. I have a partner. They've been my partner the whole time, but you know, like now I feel like I have a partner. So then it liberates you all to express yourself and feel that vulnerability is not a weakness in your relationship, but a strength, because it brings you together. And then you're like, whoa, you feel this way too about this? I didn't even know, So it's like when you do open up to that, it creates a freedom of knowing that your truth matters, especially in your relationships. And if you're single and you're expressing this to yourself out loud, then you're not going to let anything less than come in your bedroom that doesn't understand that this is a vulnerable and intimate experience. You are setting boundaries. You are creating power within yourself and in the relationships that you have. Sorry, that's my dog. And then, yeah, so you're able to do that. And it creates that freedom to say, this is my truth. And the people that are meant to be in my life are going to accept my truth, and I'm going to accept my truth. So it creates a freedom relationship with yourself to say, what I do experience, what I do feel is enough no matter where I'm at. I can always get through it. But you have to validate that for yourself as well. So it's just, the freedom feels like validation, confidence, power, love, and acceptance. It's a very powerful combination once you start to get in that habit of speaking up and speaking your truth. And then we're able to experience different things. Like we're like, whoa, like this isn't something we've ever thought of. Let's try this. Like for example, when I said the intentional sex, like that was something we never would have thought of if that vulnerability and that transparency wasn't there to open up and talk about this and know that we're healing in the process. And that was probably one of the things that set the tone for having deeper connected sex, where we were really deeply connected. We set the intention, orgasmic manifesting, like so much came from that.
Yeah. So and this is new information to me too, that, sex is not just a physical and mental experience. It's spiritual.
Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned, orgasmic manifestation. Right. And I'm big on this whole spiritual quantum physics stuff. And so, so that was like, oh, tell me more. But, so I was scrolling through, YouTube as well. And I ran into this, I think it's an Abraham Hicks one that says that you actually put yourself in a plane of, higher, or, so don't quote me on this. I might have butchered her words. But you actually place yourself in a higher level of manifestation once you tap into the proper orgasmic,
Yes, most definitely. I'm so glad you brought that up, because once again, let's go on the spiritual, energetic side of things, because I think they're honestly very hand in hand. So it's like, if you're scientific, if you're really into physics, then you understand spirituality. So there's so many parallels in that. So on the energetic, spiritual side of it, it goes within your chakras that I was referring to. Your root chakra is at the base of, your body. If you were sitting down, legs crossed at the very base of your body, connecting you to the earth. And then your sacral chakra is right there in your womb area. And that is where power, sexuality, creativity, sensuality, and pleasure all exist. Those are all positive, powerful experiences, right? So if you are cut off from that, you can have a great business, you can have, great friendships, but if you are cut off from that sexual power, the manifesting that massive amount of abundance and knowing that that's yours, it's cut off. And that was huge for me. I had great things going on, but I couldn't get to exactly what I knew I could have and could receive. And once I started working on my sexual healing, massive things opened up. That's when we started to move. That's when my husband got got an increase in, where he works and making more money. That's when I was able to take off and meeting really good friends. That's when we were having amazing experiences in our lives. That's when, just so many things started to come. That's when me and my husband got even more connected. Like, it just opened up the room for me to say, I literally am the creator of the life that I'm living, and I'm not trying to control it. I'm trying to experience it. So whenever for example, for orgasmic manifesting, that's literally being so mindful and being so focused on the sensations of your body and what you're experiencing and how that feels and the flow and the sensations. So if you're focusing on the energy that's flowing through your body, you can do nothing but create more abundance from that energy, because you're at your highest self. When you're in pleasure, you're in flow, you're creating love with two people, and then you're focusing on receiving more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful combination.
Mm-hmm.
So when helping women in particular to be able to reach this, that's massive healing and massive transformation in itself, because it's not only that you're just having better sex, but you're also feeling better and more confident and connected to your body, connected to source, God, the universe, connected to your partner, connected to the things that you desire to have and receive in your life. You're literally opening up to be a more abundant being through sexual soul healing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, it's massive. It's just transformational in itself. It's super big.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, this reminds me of a story. One time I was writing a script for a solo session episode. And I'm like, nope, it's just not happening. It's been 3 days and I have writer's block. My friend's like, go upstairs, touch yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, seriously. And then after that, I was like, oh, damn, I just wrote 4 episodes.
Yes. Yes. And even not just with sex, the masturbation, being able to experience that pleasure with yourself. It's like, go take a break. Like literally, I call them masturbation breaks, literally in the middle of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Go and take that break. You are recharged. You feel so good because you've got the endorphins running through your body. And boom, you're putting that magic right into the computer, right into your content. And then that energy is translating out to your audience. So it's like, it is a very positive thing. You just have to reclaim the positivity of your body and your own experiences that you were once taught to have shame around. Because we are taught very early, oh, don't have sex with a lot of people. It's like, well, why? You know what I'm saying? I understand there's like, make sure protection's involved, but like to immediately say that without me even understanding what sex is or actually to experience it in a good way. Have you ever once heard someone say, sex is one of those things that it's loving, it's compassionate, it's for you to be able to feel more comfortable and confident in your body? That wasn't how I was taught. That never came up. It was about the guy, and it wasn't even about a woman's orgasm. It was about periods. Like it's the only thing we learned about. We learned about a man's erection, but we didn't learn about a woman's orgasmic experience. No. So from the get, we're already like our vaginas are literally only for periods. And that's painful. You know what I'm saying? That's not a great experience. So it's already attached to so much negativity. You're moving that stagnant energy when you start to heal this. All that stagnant energy throughout your body. So now you have this beautiful ebb and flow of energy moving through your body and out to your body. And now you're able to shift and co-create with the universe in a massive way.
So now let's talk to our single friends. Okay. So, since we mentioned masturbation, and earlier you were saying exploring this with your partner, and they're compassionate about it. So how would a single person, especially now, we have a lot of our single friends in quarantine by themselves, and so how could they explore this on their own?
Yeah, absolutely. So I even actually, when at the beginning of one part of this journey with my husband, I actually asked him for space for me to develop my personal relationship with my body and my sexuality without his quote unquote interference into that. So he gave me that space. And that's when I was just like kind of in the mind of being like single. How do I explore sexuality on my own? So a lot of first of all, just a lot of sensual touching in itself will be transformational. I call it the sensual healing movements. There's a couple of different healing movements that I use. They're kind of similar to yoga movements, but they're not yoga. I just want to get you in the frame of mind of like, what would it be like? They're very similar to yoga. You do the cat cow pose. It's what's it called is yoni grounding and yoni worshiping. And all of these are energetic, intentional ways to connect more to your womb. That's what I started with, is understanding my womb as a vessel. My womb is where my creativity, my love, my nurture, my feminine energy lies. So creating the connection and the relationship with that first is what, because if you're trying to say, I just want to hurry up and like basically have an orgasm or, come, well, you're already in the masculine mind of I'm trying to get from point A to point B versus how can I let this flow? How can I be in the experience? How can I be in the moment? So you develop that relationship with understanding that your yoni, your vagina, your womb speaks to you. She talks to you. She lets you know when she needs something. So now I'm setting that intention to be more aware of when she is speaking to me listening and understanding that, me honoring that, and just developing that relationship first. Once you've done that, then you intertwine masturbation, whether it be with your hand, whether it be with a toy. And looking at that toy is a way to receive pleasure. So not just looking at it like, you're about to get me to where I'm trying to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is an experience. It's like, let's just hurry up and get this over with. And I used to be in that mindset, like, I just want to hurry up and get this over with. And nothing was working for me because there was still negative. I was still a negative mindset and negative energy attached around it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like setting that intention, being extremely intentional with your practices and the way that you treat your body. So it's like, all right, now this, whatever it may be, whether it be my hands, whether it be the toy, I appreciate you, I value you. You and I are about to create an experience of intimacy, of pleasure, and I'm going to be more focused on the feeling of it. So I wrote a blog about the 5 steps of how to align with feminine energy during pleasure. So that way it kind of just walks you through 5 different ways that you can get out of your head and into your body to really understand and receive pleasure. And one of them is basically like focusing on the ocean waves, and you're breathing. Whenever the waves come to you, you exhale. When the waves are going away from you, you inhale. And when you're doing that, it creates this rhythm in your body, creates this energetic rhythm. And then you can actually go with the flow of that, with the pleasure, whether it be, with the toy or with your hand, you can go with that flow. And then that's creating that synchronicity. That's creating that recharge of energy because it's creating a flow, a continuous flow. So then you're just making sure that you're focusing on it, making sure you're intentional about receiving pleasure. When I ask the question, how often do you experience pleasure in your life? Most people are like, you know what? I haven't even thought about that. I don't even pay attention to, are these things pleasurable for me? Or am I just doing them because I need to do them, because I want to do them, because this is just a part of my habit, my routine. So being more intentional about experiencing pleasure in other areas of your life. Whenever you're eating food, that's one of my favorites. One of my favorites is to literally be like, I love you, food. I do. I already love food. But being more intentional with the water, with if I'm drinking wine, definitely I'm like, you're amazing. So it's like being more intentional to experience this great, pleasure from your food. Then doing the same thing with your morning routines, whether it be with putting lotion on your body, in the shower, sensually actually scrubbing your body versus just trying to hurry up and get done, but actually feeling the caress of the whatever you're using, the loofah, the rag, the sponge, and actually feeling that sensation on your body, just being more sensational. That is the way you develop this amazing relationship of what you want. And then once you start to explore it in different ways, you know exactly how you want to receive it from whoever comes into your life. And you're not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of things. Yeah. There's this, you mentioned it here. There's a lot of things that we just kind of gloss over. You shower, you just scrub, you put lotion on, and you don't even think about how does, how does my hand feel against my leg? Right. So,
yes.
yeah.
Yes. Because I'm like, you're not going to really be comfortable with someone really touching you this way, or you might feel too comfortable with someone else touching you that way to where you feel codependent on them. So once you create that foundation, that relationship with yourself, you're not codependent on pleasure coming from someone else. You just enjoy it as a gift and an experience. And that's really powerful when you can say, I can create pleasure within myself and I enjoy this pleasure with myself, but I enjoy this, having this with my partner because, or this person, whatever it may be, this experience, because it's an experience and now I can enjoy it and be more intentional about it.
Yeah. So we were here for almost 40 minutes. That's awesome. Time just flew right by.
I know, right?
I know. I mean, we could stay here for the next 4 hours, but we're probably going to have lots more to talk about. Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit imaginative here. Okay. So say you have, so kids start exploring this around maybe 13, 14 years old. So say you have a 14-year-old in front of you, and or all the 14-year-olds in the world, they're starting to explore this. You have a magic wand that you tap them, and then whatever you say, they'll actually hear it.
Yeah.
So what's something that you want to say to those kids that are starting to explore this?
Yeah, definitely at that age, and just explore it, just boom, to say, your body is also your own pleasure and your own playground.
Mm.
So experience it with fun, experience it with light, laughter, enjoyment, and then allow other people, if you choose, to be a part of your magic and your playground as well. That would be what I would tell them, because it's, you know what I'm saying? They're still in that creation. They still understand that concept, but it's like, it's mine. So it's like, okay, this is my playground. I can explore this. I can do whatever I desire with it. So it's already putting them in that place of, this is mine and I appreciate it. I can have fun with it and I can explore it. And if I want to invite other people, then I will.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, sorry, just to touch up on that, would you recommend that someone starts, or those kids or our single friends would start on their self exploration?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Or even friends that have husbands or wives, or
yeah, no, absolutely. Your personal self exploration is very, very important. Just so you can know the anatomy of your body, you can understand that when your body is talking to you, or when your yoni is talking to you, you can understand what she's saying, where it's coming from. You know what I'm saying? Like, just really creating a relationship with your vagina. For sure. Like, just looking at it as you would with any other relationship. How do you want to talk to it? How do you want to feel it, experience it when things are not going all so great? Are you going to be vulnerable, or are you going to be mean? Like, actually taking that and saying, the relationship with your yoni is basically like any other relationship that you're going to have. How do you want to go about that journey?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, Xerces,
Yes.
I want to acknowledge you for the stand that you are for women and gaining their freedom with their, for themselves, for the relationship, for their relationships, and you are creating an impact. So I want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. And this was wonderful.
Yeah.
This even just helped me to realize how much I genuinely enjoy sexual and sensual soul healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not often that I talk about it from this dynamic. So I love it. And I thank you for allowing me to come on here and talk about something so vulnerable, but so open at the same time. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. Oh, and you shared you have a blog that you want to, would you like to share that? Okay. So yeah, we'll link that up in the show notes.
Perfect.
And then for our friends in YouTube, we'll link that up in the description. Yeah. And what's the best way that they could get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way that you can get in touch with me is through Facebook. My personal Facebook/business page, I've just kept it just all one. So that's Xerces Lewis, Xerces space A, and then last name Lewis, Lewis. And all of my content is public. I run challenges from there. If you reach out to me, I'm going to message you back. So yeah, it's going to be a great journey if you decide to follow me, which I hope you do.
All right. Awesome. Well, my friend, thank you again. Appreciate you. And if you need anything, just reach out.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Judith Vergara here. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Play Inspired podcast. So, don't forget to hit the like button below. We both know you like this episode. And come check out Xerces' gift for you. The link is in the description down below. Also, check out her Sensual Babe Darkroom, where she talks about all things sex, magic, healing, and a lot of kinky shit. So go on ahead, check that out. And that's all. And don't forget to subscribe. Okay, don't forget to subscribe to the Play Inspired podcast. That way you get notified every time we pump out new episodes. And please feel free to support us on Patreon so we can create more episodes just like this one and keep the conversation going around vulnerability and self-expression.